to the Cast Off. This is the #1 recasting show on the internet where two contestants compete by recasting your favorite actors in movies you love. I'm your host, Craig Price, and tonight, recasting. Why did it have to be recasting? That's right, we're recasting the greatest movie ever made, and I don't want to hear anybody say any different. Raiders of the Lost Ark. It is my favorite movie of all time. I'm sure it is at least in the top 5 of our two guests tonight. And because we have such an impossible task, I have got two of the most talented contestants I could find and who are available on this Tuesday evening. And that would be from the Visually Stunning Movie Podcast, Mark Woodring, and the brand new handler of the influencer that is known as Russell the Pug, Elisabeth Rappe. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Craig.
We'll start with you, Mark. We just finished up Fan X. Now, of course, we're recording this beforehand, so we have no idea how it went, but I'm going to assume it went spectacularly.
I would be shocked if it didn't. I would be very disappointed if we came away from that not happy people.
Yeah, because it would be the first time. I mean, every time I go, I'm so excited about it. Every time I go, it just gets better and better. And the fact that I get to meet more people like yourself, and because that's where we met through that and through Fan X, and so. But the Visually Stunning Movie Podcast continues. What do you guys have plans for in October?
In October, man, it's so nice to have movies back again. I say it every time I'm on. It's just nice that they're giving us movies on a pretty regular basis, and that they're mostly high quality films. It's always better to go and review a good movie than a bad one, because you feel bad if you have to do that.
Yeah.
So
I think they held all the good ones back and just dumped all the bad ones during COVID. So let's hope that that trend continues. Maybe they learned something. Obviously not at Warner Brothers, but we'll move on from there. I don't want to talk about that. That could be a whole nother show.
Yes,
Elisabeth Rappe, tell me about Russell and his new job.
Yeah, I finally employed one of my dogs.
About damn time, those lazy good-for-nothings.
Exactly. So yeah, Russell works as an official chill influencer for Fuzzy's Taco Shop, and hey, free plug for Fuzzy's Taco Shop. But yeah, he got invited to a corporate event today, and everybody was like wanting to meet him. And I walk out of my car and I just hear like, "Oh my God, Russell's here! Oh my God, Russell's here!" So yeah, that's where I'm at in life.
So I did not know this because we've known each other for a while now, and I've known Russell, but. Do you does he have an Instagram account? Does he have thousands of followers?
I have an Instagram account that I've tried to curate, and they had this contest like, hey, would you like to be an influencer for Fuzzies? And as a joke, I sent his picture in because he genuinely, it's his favorite restaurant. Like, people do not believe me, but he loves to eat nachos. He loves to eat queso. If I take him to a different Fuzzies, he will scream and try to claw out of the car. He knows where he's at. And so I sent his picture, and they're like, "Oh my God, yes, you're hired." And the rest is history.
The rest is taco history. And you are working him like a dog, which is a true statement. So
yeah.
Now, you say you get paid in food? Is that just for Russell?
Well, I mean, I get to use it, and then I'd have to take pictures of him eating it. But I have to be careful because, the internet, like if somebody was to see him eating some of this stuff, I'd probably get a bunch of hate mail, even though.
Oh, sure.
Obviously. Yeah. I know what I'm doing. I know what pancreatitis is. I know what onion toxicity is, but I have to be careful when I take pictures of him eating this stuff. But,
well,
yeah.
I know you do. You love the dogs. You would never poison your dogs. So that's the one thing I know. You're not just a pug lover. You're a pug protector as a vet tech.
I try.
Well, let's move on to the game, which is going to be great because this is one of my all-time. This is my all-time favorite. But we have some rules we have to follow, and so I will name a character in the movie, and our contestants will recast them with an actor throughout all of time and space. So you're going to name a new actor. I and my two judges, which, Elisabeth, you are normally one of them, but you are not this time. In fact, our judges didn't even know you were participating. Your name was hidden from the ballot, so to make it as fair as possible. The best choice gets a point. I will play along as well, because I have recast this well in advance. And so if you pick my secret selection, you get a point. And so you could possibly get 2 points, because if you pick mine, odds are it's the best choice as well. Person with the most points wins. If there's a tie, double feature to win. We'll talk about that when and if it's necessary. But, as always, this show is brought to you by Matinee Heroes. And since this Saturday was the last day of Fan X, I'm releasing the full panel with Christopher Eccleston I did at last year's FanX because he is a really talented guy. And, Mark, you know this. I don't go for the big names. I go for the big talents. I go with the most talented people that are going to be there. I don't necessarily go for the big names. So I was really excited to be able to talk to Christopher Eccleston that last year, and you can hear that in its entirety. So head over to matineeheroes.com/subscribe. While you're there, you can go to matineeheroes.com/castoff, where you can join the video stream, but you can also hear the exclusive Cast-Off post-game show every Thursday on the audio feed. So head over to matineeheroes.com/subscribe. All right. Well, if you are enjoying, this is the movie that made me who I am today. And a great man once said, "It ain't the years, sweetheart, it's the mileage." And we are going to go through a lot of mileage today because you guys have really picked some really, I want to say, old people, because I think one of you has all dead people and one of you has 50% dead people. So let's recast the greatest movie ever made, Raiders of the Lost Ark. And we're going to start off with Mark. Mark, you are going first. Before we start, what is your feelings about Raiders of the Lost Ark? And more specifically, what are your feelings about Harrison Ford?
Raiders of the Lost Ark is easily a top 10 film for anybody that's being honest with themselves.
Top 5?
I'm trying to be more inclusive than you, Craig. Let's put it that way. Harrison Ford is really good at what he does. And when he is on his game, no one does it better than he does. So since we're talking about the first character we're going to talk about right now is the unbelievable and possibly the biggest hero of all time in cinema, Indiana Jones. I think he was ranked 1 or 2 on some top 10 lists, very important AFI lists. He is played by the cinematic god that is Harrison Ford. So who do you have, Mark, to replace, which is impossible, you can't, and I want everyone to know, just because it is a spoiler, but I want everybody to know Chris Pratt was not selected at all. So we have some quality people here. So who do you have playing Indiana Jones? The rakish scoundrel cinema hero from Harrison Ford to Clark Gable.
Oh, there you go. Known for not giving a damn, as we saw in Gone with the Wind. He was in Call of the Wild, just like Harrison Ford. Mutiny on the Bounty, Too Hot to Handle. It Happened One Night. I tried to find an Indiana Jones pick as best I could. So what about Clark Gable really makes you think he could do this? Which he can. I agree.
It's the attitude. Yeah, he's got the acting chops. Obviously, we all know that. But he can play that roguish, devil-may-care kind of bastard when he has to.
Absolutely. Well, I know Elisabeth just adores Harrison Ford. Because we're on the same level of adoration, yes. Elisabeth. We've already talked about this when we did Clear and Present Danger, and we've done Witness together. And what other Harrison Ford movies have we done together on the podcast?
I think that might be it.
Oh, I know what it is.
It just comes up a lot.
It's Mel Gibson as well. So we do the Harrison Ford and Mel Gibsons. But who do you have to possibly replace the great Harrison Ford and defeat Clark Gable?
Well, it's true. You have to go back to the 40s for anybody that has that roguish charm and is truly like a man. I think that's the thing about like the whole Chris Pratt thing is that there's still like a little bit of a boy there, and the 40s, and then Harrison Ford is apparently where it cut off, was the last time there was a man on screen. So I went with Gregory Peck.
Oh, yes, Gregory Peck. I tried to find the most Indiana Jones hat I could find for him, too.
It's not great.
Yeah. He's known for attempted infanticide, because we all saw him try to kill Damien in The Omen, which we covered here on Matinee Heroes. But he's also one of the nicest people in the history of cinema in To Kill a Mockingbird. We did Cape Fear, so we got 3 right there. So you can go to matineeheroes.com, check out the archive for those episodes. But he was also in 12 O'Clock High, Moby Dick, one of the greats. We have 2 of the greats being Indiana Jones because you have to. It's Harrison Ford. Yep. You can't slum on this one. So we got Clark Gable, Gregory Peck, the judges hemmed and hawed, and we went with Gregory Peck. Elisabeth gets on the board with a point.
I kind of felt bad because I think Clark Gable is a good pick.
Yeah.
Too.
Oh, Gregory Peck's a good pick too.
I went with Bradley Cooper. I'm liking Bradley Cooper more and more as an actor, and unfortunately, I couldn't find a picture where he's like roguish in the Nightmare Alley, but he has the look. But he's roguish in the I hate to say it, he's running in the Hangover movies. He's got the charm. He can do that. So I think if you give him the appropriate amount of time to study, he could do it. But no one can replace Harrison Ford, just like no one can replace what every healthy boy of the 80s dreamed of. And that was Karen Allen as Marion Ravenwood. She's smart. She's tough. She's beautiful. She's approachable. She's just like, oh, guess whose turn it is? Elisabeth, it's just like you.
Oh.
So who do you have to possibly be the wonderful Karen Allen who, quite frankly, her career should have exploded, and
Yes.
it did not. She's just fabulous.
I know. And I think apparently the one red-blooded male who didn't find her all that appealing was Harrison Ford. And I think that's kind of why that didn't take off.
But they had great chemistry.
They did. And I'm flattered that you said that, because I kind of, she was like my personality model. But I went with Jean Tierney, who, again, I feel like for this part, you have to go back to the 40s, because so many actresses today seem like girls, and they aren't women. And Jean Tierney had like a spark, a real feistiness that I don't think, given the limitations of the 40s and her own personal life, that she ever really got to have on screen. So, you used my picture.
Yeah, if that's the one you wanted. I tried to
I
get
could
your pick.
totally see her doing this. I could actually, like, she had it in her to be Marion, to be tough, to be feminine. And I also saw her as being somebody young enough to fall in for Indy's crap.
Yep.
Which
Well,
is a key factor.
I find it interesting that almost every actor, man or woman, in the 40s looks like a 60-year-old now. Like, if we took the actors that we have now who are 30 and we showed someone who was an actor when they're 30, like Humphrey Bogart looks like he's 50 years old at 30. And then, of course, Timothée Chalamet looks like he's 9. So, Mark, what ageless beauty from the cinematic history did you go with?
Well, I had to use the same criteria that Elisabeth did. She's got to be smart. She's got to be intelligent. She's got to be funny. She's got to be beautiful. She's got to fall for Indy's crap, and she's also got to give that crap right back at them. And I went with another timeless beauty, and that would be Rita Hayworth.
Yeah, absolutely. She was known as the love goddess. That was what the critics called her, because she was great in these movies as this picture of beauty and of love. She was in Gilda, Only Angels Have Wings, CoverGirl, My Gal Sal, and Blood and Sand. One of the most famous actresses probably from that era, Rita Hayworth. Because even if you don't know who she was, you know the name, and that tells you something.
Yep.
So we have Jean Tierney, Rita Hayworth. Once again, our judges hemmed and hawed over this one, because you guys are not fooling around. But we went with Rita Hayworth, and Mark, you have tied it up.
Yes.
I went with Tatiana Maslany.
Oh my God.
Because I think
not because of your choice.
No, it's because we were talking about her.
Yeah.
We were talking about her for a while beforehand on totally different reasons. But I think she's one of those. She's unbelievably talented. First off, super talented. But I also think she's cute, feisty. She could fall for Indy's crap, but also wouldn't take the crap. I think she's really, really right now she's on the top. So I think she's wonderful.
She's a sweetheart.
I hope so. I don't know what she's like in real life. I hope she's a sweetheart. I listened to her on Comedy Bang Bang because she's a guest star on there, and she seems like a really down-to-earth person, which would make her even more attractive.
Well, she seems she's mature. Like, I think what I like about her on She-Hulk is that, that's somebody to go through law school. Like,
Yeah.
You know?
She's smart, yeah. So next is one of the few times when you have a movie like this where the nemesis is actually a worthy nemesis. Paul Freeman's Renee Belloc, or Beloche, as Sala calls him, is certainly someone you cannot underestimate, because he will bite you in the butt, and he is absolutely a worthy foe. So, Mark, who do you have to replace Paul Freeman's Belloc?
Smart, rat bastard, suave, Vincent Price.
All right. No relation to me, but yes, he is a horror icon. But he was also in Rita Hayworth in Laura. No, that was Jean Tierney.
No, he's with Gene Tierney in Leave Her to Heaven. So you're right. Yeah.
And he's with Rita Hayworth in Laura, The Ten Commandments, The Fly. These are all the originals: House of Haunted Hill and House of Wax. But yes, Vincent Price. No relation, but I liked him the most from the Brady Bunch. So when he found the Tiki Idol.
Yeah, classic.
So now we move on to Elisabeth. Who could you possibly get to replace Vincent Price?
I was super tempted to go really retro because, I mean, that's the thing about Raiders is that it's a 40s film made in the 80s. But I went modern and I went with, I think I'm saying it right, Klaus Bang.
I was hoping you would tell me because
I don't know.
All I know is you have a thing for these Danish desserts that we call,
but not this one.
Oh,
he's uber. I mean, he's a fantastic actor, incredible range, but he is so creepy and slimy. I'm sure he's a really nice person, but he's currently on Bad Sisters. If you've seen even like 5 seconds of him on Bad Sisters, you just want to dig out a grave in the desert and just leave him there.
He's great in Dracula on Netflix.
And Dracula's the first thing I saw him in, and then The Northman. And
where he fights naked with Alexander Skarsgård, which absolutely did not influence your decision on this at all.
No, but to me, Belloc has to be somebody, very continental, very suave, very smooth, somebody who is believably speaks Horvitos. So, and this guy seemed like, Klaus, if I'm saying it right, seems like a man who speaks Horvitos, and you don't trust because he's in with the Nazis. So. And
he's got to be someone that Marion actually finds attractive and might actually, have a couple drinks and she's doing her deal with. So we have Vincent Price, Klaus Bang.
I think you said it right.
I think I did too. I just like to say, you have to say it, Bang, Klaus Bang. And the judges went with great uncle Vincent Price. So Mark gets a second point and takes the lead.
I was on the fence on that one.
But I thought I found a good picture of him because he had that suave look to him, that little pencil-thin mustache.
I think it's the right thing. It's right there.
I went with the only Frenchman in the group. I went with Vincent Cassel.
That's a good pick.
Not a fan? Is that what you just said?
Not. Maybe I haven't seen him in enough.
No, he's really good. He's also creepo. So, I mean,
except for Vincent Cassel's listening to this, a tear just went down his cheek.
Vincent.
Craig would take that.
Yeah, Vincent, email me at mhcastoff@gmail.com, and I will happily issue an apology. Well, now we move on to designated creepo. He's the official creepo of the movie. That is Major Arnold Tote, played by Ronald Lacey. So, Elisabeth, who do you have playing the designated creep?
This one is like impossible. But did poor Ronald Lacey do anything else? I've never had the heart to look him up.
Yes, he was in a couple other things. He did a lot of TV. Yeah. He wasn't a big famous actor, but he was a long-term actor.
This is why.
Well, you went with one obscure actor to another. So, who is your pick?
I went with the creepiest sort of squidgy. Sorry, Doug Bradley, that I could think of, and I went with Doug Bradley, who's the only one on this list that I've ever met as well.
Oh, really?
Very nice guy, uber creepy. I mean, he's Pinhead. There's no question about it. Even when he's not Pinhead in the intro of Hellraiser 2, he's still creepy. So,
so this is the only person you've met. You've not met Harrison Ford?
No, I've never met Harrison Ford.
I have met Harrison Ford.
Yeah, I served Doug Bradley water a few times at the Alamo, and it was really funny because I worked at the front desk, and he came over and he has this posh British accent, and he's like, "May I trouble you terribly for a glass of water?" And I was like, "Ah!"
Well, that's my autograph from Harrison Ford when I met him on the set of Random Hearts. So,
yeah,
and
I mean, you probably didn't scream, but I was like, and I felt like handing it to him like the lament configuration. I was like, no, I'm not going to be an asshole. Here's your water, Mr. Bradley. Like,
no,
he's a really nice man, like super nice. He came over and chatted with me a couple of times.
I find that all of the villains that I've met have been super sweet guys. I think they use it.
He was like really polite. He wanted to know where we sourced our coffee. Like that was something he was really keen to know.
It's from the exotic land of Sanka.
From hell.
The exotic world of Sanka. Well, we've got obscure. I don't think a lot of people know Doug Bradley, except for Pinhead, which, oddly enough, the Hellraiser show is coming out on Hulu next month. So they're having a reboot with someone new. So, Mark, who do you have to go up against Doug Bradley?
You know what, Craig? Just put his picture up, and that's all the justification for this pick that I need.
Of course, it's Peter Lorre. He's a Hall of Fame creeper. I mean, nobody looks as creepy as Peter Lorre. You're right. No explanation. Maltese Falcon, Casablanca, Casino Royale.
I almost picked this. I'm going to say that. I almost picked
Yeah. And then you felt bad for him. Sorry.
No, I was like, I used him already.
So
it's
what?
Easy 240s.
Oh,
I'm going to go with Pinhead.
This is the problem with Elisabeth, is that she is not out to win. She's just out to show everybody how good she is instead of to win.
Oh.
You got to be more cutthroat.
W, man. That's what you got to go for.
Got to go for the win. Doug Bradley versus Peter Lorre. Frankly, that's not a competition. Peter Lorre, not only is he a super creep, very good actor. So, I mean, he was a phenomenal actor, even though he was a little creepy dude. So, Mark, you've taken a pretty good lead with 3-1. I went with Christoph Waltz. I guess I went with the only German.
I knew it.
If he can find a way to get Christoph Waltz in his picks.
Oh, no, we don't have, this is not like budgetary constraints and then all, hey, superstar actor, you want this 3-minute cameo. So let's move on to one of the nicest people in the world that I've ever met. The sweetheart of a man that is John Rhys Davies. Met him at FanX several times. Got to spend 20, 30 minutes with him behind stage during a Twisted Tunes one day. I went back to see Chris Provost, a previous contestant on the cast-off, thinking, oh, Twisted Tunes, Chris has got a lot of free time. I'll go back and see him. And there, just sitting by himself, was John Rhys Davies, and we had a great 15, 20-minute conversation. Sweet, sweet man. He plays Salah, the best digger in Egypt. So, Mark, who do you have to be the best possible digger in Egypt?
More importantly, he's Indy's kind of conscience, and he's very philosophical. And I went with Omar Sharif.
Of course you did. Because Omar Sharif, he's an Egyptian film star in Lawrence of Arabia, which you've done here on the podcast. Dr. Zhivago, Funny Girl, and before he passed, he was in the 13th Warrior. And, of course, who could forget Oh Heavenly Dog? Elisabeth, you went out on a limb. Who did you pick?
I went with Omar Sharif.
That's right. Omar Sharif, the world-class bridge player who's been in Genghis Khan, McKenna's Gold, The Rainbow Thief, and, of course, one of your favorites, Viggo Mortensen. He was with him in Hidalgo. And who could forget his moment in Top Secret with Val Kilmer? So we're going to just go right past this one. This was Omar Sharif. Everybody gets 2 points. Everybody gets 1 point. So, Mark, you got a 2-point lead. You said at this point you thought someone would be 4-1, but you didn't realize you were close.
I didn't know which way it was going to be, but I said it was going to be 4-1.
Well, no offense to you guys. I thought Omar Sharif was pretty basic. Not that he couldn't do the job, but I think that's obviously you both had that first in mind. I went with Saeed Badrea, who look how happy he is. He's such a great guy. And so I was looking for a picture of him to put on this thing, and I stumbled upon this picture that they did for GQ.
Oh.
That's awesome.
Isn't that awesome? I totally had this guy picked weeks ago, and then today when I was looking for pictures of him, this popped up in for GQ that he did. So
fantastic.
That's awesome. But he is a very sweet guy. I mean, he just looks like Salah. Like Salah is all I remember from Salah is he's always happy, he's dependable and rock solid. So let's move on to now we get to Marcus Brody, the loyal and fatherly friend played by Denholm Elliott. And let's be honest, they did him and Salah wrong in The Last Crusade by making them both incompetent twits, which neither of them were in the first movie. So I was pretty I love The Last Crusade, but I was pretty upset that they screwed over Marcus Brody, making him look like an idiot. But here he's a competent college administrator. So, Elisabeth, who do you have to be a competent professor/administrator?
I went with Kenneth Branagh because I thought, yeah, like Marcus Brody has some gravitas. He has, he has brains. Like he when you hear that line about, if it was, how many years ago I'd go for the Ark myself. And I thought like current Kenneth Branagh, like he has that history and that weight and that, Shakespearean thing behind him. And I could totally see him just like the sort of sweet way of Marcus Brody flipping over those pieces. I'm like, oh yes, they are quite lovely. Yeah, of course the museum will buy them, Indy. And I was like, that's Kenneth Branagh to me.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got the Agatha Christie movies is what he's doing now. Murder on the Orient Express, Death on the Nile. I like those. I do not like his mustache in it, but that's just me. Of course, he rose to fame doing the Shakespearean movies in the 90s with Hamlet. He was in Dunkirk and Valkyrie, which both of those two movies we've done here on Matinee Heroes. And, of course, he was the professor of the dark arts for one Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
Was he, though?
I don't, you know what? I don't care. It's Harry Potter, so I don't know. Oh, sorry, hit a button. So, Mark, you might as well explain why you went with Jimmy Stewart.
I went with not bumbling. In Raiders, he's not really bumbling, but he's just kind of loyal, bookish, best friendy, still professorial. And I went, Elisabeth went Shakespearean. I went not Shakespearean with
Right.
Jimmy Stewart.
Well, you went Hitchcockian, and I think the Hitchcock Jimmy Stewarts from Rope, Rear Window, and Vertigo are the kind of guy you're looking for, I believe. Where he's a regular guy, but he's not like a aw shucks kind of guy.
Right.
Like he is in A Wonderful Life. He's so
Yeah, you don't want him all the way to It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, he's so aw shucks he's willing to throw himself off a bridge. Aw shucks. And so we've got an all-American actor going against an all-British actor, or Irish. I'm sorry, God, Belfast killed me. So we have
right.
Kenneth Branagh, Jimmy
Whom I
Stewart.
love.
Yeah, because normally at 4 you pretty much have this in the bag, but there's still 4 points on the board, and now there's only 3 because Elisabeth got Kenneth Branagh, and now you're a 1 point behind Mark.
Yes. Like, I feel really competitive about this one.
Yeah, well, you should. I know this is one of your favorites, and this is one of mine. I went with an older Colin Firth. He's got that same kind of professorial kind of thing. Too young, and he could still be kicking butt a little bit. You know, the Kingsman. I want to age him up just a hair. So finally, so I had to have a minor character because let's be honest, there's not that many characters who aren't Nazis. Because there's Dietrich, but he's just a Nazi. Just find a blonde guy. Here, I wanted someone I really liked in the movie. I liked Captain Katanga, played by George Harris. I liked how he was willing to help Indiana Jones, but he was willing to sell Marion at a drop of a hat, and then he's willing to help Indiana Jones again. So he's one of those guys you'd never can tell, and of course, he's the one that inspires Sala to sing on the docks. I just like that. So Mark, you are in control of your own destiny here. She's banging on the door with 1 to go. She could tie this up. Who do you have? Who do you have playing Captain Katanga?
You gave us a minor character, and I wanted this character to be a little more major. Because there's more to him than he's not really going to sell. He's playing the game to get past the Nazis on the sub. And so I went Sidney Poitier.
Oh, sneakers era Sidney Poitier, which it was very hard to find a picture of him that was high resolution. This was the best picture I could find of him from that movie, but I think that's the perfect time frame.
Yep.
He's a screen legend, just passed recently in the last year or two. Sneakers, The Blackboard Jungle, and The Heat of the Night, A Raisin in the Sun, To Sir with Love, all of those are classics. And not only was he a great actor, but a great human being. So it's always got that double whammy, which makes your cockles of your heart always tingle. All right. Sidney Poitier is going to be hard, Elisabeth. So who do you have as Captain Katanga?
I went with somebody who just, whenever he comes on screen, you're like, that's a guy with a history, which is how I feel about Katanga. And obviously Sidney Poitier. I'm kicking myself. I didn't think about that. But I went with Lance Henriksen, who...
No, you went with Lance Riddick.
Sorry, Lance Riddick. Oh my God, I knew I was going to say that wrong. I was like, say Lance Riddick.
I was like, if you have Lance Henriksen, I got the wrong slide.
Yeah, no, that's he has such authority, and Katanga's like a character you just know has a ton of stories. And in the 21st century film, he would get a spinoff and like a Netflix series. But as Indiana Jones, he's a really cool footnote, and to me, that's Lance Riddick. And in every film part he's ever had, it's like, what's that guy's story? Well, I'll never know.
Yep. If they were making them now, it'd be Into the Indieverse, and he would definitely have his own spinoff because Captain Katanga would be awesome. Him and his whole crew were good.
I was like, no, Beth, don't say it.
That's all right. Well, he's great. Even he's authority figure type. As soon as you see him, you automatically respect his ability and his authority. Even when he's just the concierge at the John Wick movies. But he's in Godzilla vs. King Kong. He was in The Wire, and my first real recollection of him was Fringe on FX, which was a great show that didn't quite make it as long as it should have.
Yeah.
All right.
I remember him from Lost. I remember everybody spun like a huge story about him in Lost, and I was like, nah, he's just a dude.
Yeah,
but that's the power of that guy.
That's also the problem with Lost is they'd bring these people in, and they were like, yeah, he's just a dude. So for Simon Katanga, we have Sidney Poitier, Lance Riddick.
I already know who won that.
Yeah, and the winner is Lance Riddick. And we have a tie. Wow.
Unless.
Well, we have a tie. But before we get to the tiebreaker, let's move on to remind people we need subscribers. We always need subscribers. I guess we will need subscribers. We're stuck at 80. It's the saddest thing I've ever had to do is to say this friggin' thing week after week after week. Get your Russian bots. Get your Chinese scammers. Go to Nigeria and find some princes. Anything you can do to sign up to get us over 100 so I can get a custom URL so I don't have to tell you guys about this anymore. But more importantly, we have cast-off shirts. You can go to the official Matinee store to pick up a bunch of cast-off shirts. We just did Clerks and Scream. Those 2 shirts you see there. But also, if you go to our store, we have one of the very first shirts we ever made was our Indiana Jones Matinee Hero shirt by Joel Micah Harris. He makes a bunch of custom shirts for us, so please go there. And, well, I guess one thing we forgot to do is my pick. So, well, Lance Riddick. So, Elisabeth, you have won.
No!
You get 2 points because I had picked Lance Riddick, and you are tonight's winner. Do you have any last thoughts? That's the only time this has ever happened where someone has won by getting Craig's pick at the last possible pick.
Oh, man. We've got some historic shows lately. Now I just feel bad. Now, because I fumble his name and everything.
You always feel bad when you win. So what is your final thought? Promote Russell and Fuzzies.
No, I was going to say promote Jesse's rescue. The Pug Hearts of Houston need a ton of help.
Oh, they do.
Any help you can throw them some help. So throw them some money. If you live in Houston, foster, adopt, something. They're really overwhelmed. So
they have just gotten like 100 new dogs, new pugs.
171.
Oh.
It's a lot. Yeah.
And who can get rid of a pug? What kind of monster could get rid of a pug? They're so beautiful and they're so
well. A lot of it is. I mean, I don't.
The puppy mills. It's a lot of puppy mills.
Yeah, puppy mills, and a lot of them are from Mexico, so they cross the border with them. And they just get dumped. That's all there is to it. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? We had our dog Otto, and we had our neighbor who didn't speak English very well, but she loved our pug, and she used to go, "Oh, Atito," and she would say, "Little Otto, So even though he's a Chinese dog with a German name, he was honorary Mexican from our neighbor.
Well, that's Jesse too. So
please, if you're in Houston, or if you know anybody who wants a pug, drive down to Houston, fly down to Houston, get one of these great dogs. They're wonderful to have as companions. Especially if you live in the north and it's cold, they make great hot water bottles.
They really do. They really do.
Yeah. I mean, and if this, I can only say this from my wife. If you suffer from that time and you get cramps, you put a pug right on your belly. It'll make it feel better. It's good for cramps. Anyways, let's move on from there. Let's start. We do have one last live show to do, and that is going to be coming up next week. After that, we will do our shows from FanX if they were actually recorded. Hopefully they were. So we have coming up, we have a guest who has not been on in a long time, Jen Rome. She's returning to go up against a newcomer, someone who was just on the show for the very first time a few weeks ago, Justin Harlan, and we are going to give tribute to the late, great Olivia Newton-John, and we are going to redo Grease. So join us next week, an amazing show. I hate musicals, but I love Grease because it's got Dee Dee. I can't remember her last name, but she was the other beauty school from Pinky's group there. Dee Dee Cohn. She was on Benson. I loved her. She was so cute. All right. Well, you want to be on the show? It's fairly easy. Just head over to matineeheroes.com/castoff/application, or you can email me at mhcastoff@gmail.com. Vincent Cassell, that's the email that I was mumbling earlier. So if you need a written apology, I will happily send one. I will record one for you. But also, if you just happen to know one of the guests, and come on, because that's how a couple of people have been on. Paul, who I just found out has a full studio that he refuses to use on the show, so we'll see about him coming on again. But you can follow us on the Castoff Show on Twitter. We have a Facebook group. If you head over to matineeheroes.com/castoff, you can join the YouTube channel, or you can subscribe at twitch.tv/matineeheroes. Special a special thanks to what normally would be Elisabeth Rappe, but no, Brendan Agnew and Alex Barnhill, two big Indiana Jones fans. Brendan, as we all know, loves Indiana Jones so much he named his daughter Marion. So, I knew that I had the right people judging this. So, on behalf of today's winner, that of course Elisabeth Rappe, and of course my good buddy and good friend, and who has helped me in my Fan X panel the summer of '82, Mark Woodring. My name is Craig Price. We'll see you next time on The Cast Off.